I'm Rob Wu. Here's what's happening this Wednesday night.
The Greensboro City Council apologizes for what happened here in the 1979 Greensboro massacre. I'm Asal Razai with those details coming up.
In more arrests in the Durham statue takedown, those charged in court today facing felony charges. But do they have any regrets? Plus,
during Monday's solar eclipse, many of us will be behind the wheels. I'm Roman Balogan, and up next, I'll have details on do's and don'ts from the Department of Transportation.
You're watching Spectrum News on ABC 45.
good evening and great to have you with us on this Wednesday evening. I'm Rob Wu. Let's start things off with a quick check of the weather. Bring in meteorologist Monty Montello. And Monty, it is a steamy one out there today.
Another day of high heat and humidity. Haven't seen a lot on radar, but we do have a few areas of rain. Brief little downpour or two here through northern Davidson County along Highway 52 from Lexington just south of Winston-Salem. So you're going to have to turn on the windshield wipers there. Some lighter rain up through northern Stokes County, but that's really about it. These are drifting south and southeast. Might see a few additional little showers develop throughout this evening, but coverage going to be hit and miss. Muggy conditions. As you mentioned, Rob, 73 for tonight. That humidity goes nowhere through the end of the week. And in fact, temperatures getting a little hotter. It's going to be feeling very hot to wrap up this work week. Details coming up a little later in the show. Back to you.
Monty, thanks. And we begin with an update to a story we reported yesterday. The man stabbed by a Nazi during the 1979 Greensboro massacre, and all the other victims getting an apology from Greensboro City Council for the events of that tragic day. Our Asal Razai tells us why the move is so powerful for those involved.
We just wanted to say that, we are sorry that those events occurred, and we hope that it will be the start of a healing process.
It was a moment of joy and appreciation.
An apology a long time coming for victims of the 1979 Greensboro massacre.
With tears, surprised when they passed the decision 7-1, one council person was not present. I stood up and started applauding, and others then stood up, and I just extended my blew a kiss and pointed to the council people.
It was symbolic. We acknowledged that this was an awful event in our history, that it has continued to tear at the fabric of our city for almost 40 years, and most importantly, that 5 lives were taken that day.
After what happened in Virginia Saturday, the mayor says the city decided the time was right, if not too late.
Most of us weren't around when 1979 happened in the city of Greensboro, but seeing what happened in Charlottesville and the direct parallels got us talking about, the city and how we haven't moved on since then.
The Johnsons and others who were there in 1979 are hoping for an apology from the Greensboro Police Department.
As much as the police helped to organize the march that led to the death of people, I want to strongly encourage them on the back of appreciation to not just issue an apology, but to collaborate with us and others to organize a citywide study of the Truth Commission report.
For now, the Johnsons tell me they are celebrating this victory and will keep pushing their community forward.
I regret that Charlottesville happened deeply. I just feel their pain. But at the same time, sometimes another sort of lightning rod comes that makes us wake up. So while we're awake, I want us to keep moving with eyes open.
In Greensboro, Asal Razai, Spectrum News.
There's no word yet on whether the police department plans to issue a separate apology.
You had a group on one side that was bad, and you had a group on the other side that was also very violent. And nobody wants to say that, but I'll say it right now. You had a group on the other side that came charging in without a permit, and they were very, very violent.
New reaction today to those off-the-cuff comments by President Donald Trump about the deadly weekend in Virginia. Among those speaking out, North Carolina Senator Richard Burr. The president drawing ire from politicians on both sides, Republicans and Democrats, calling the president out for equating the white nationalist ralliers with counter-protesters. Listen to what Senator Burr had to say about the president's remarks.
I think the president's misguided in his last statements. I think that the commander-in-chief should be very specific about our way forward, not embracing what they did or who did it at all. So I disagree with him on that, but I think that the United States people have condemned the act.
Despite the pushback, sources telling CNN the president has no regrets over what he said. An outpouring of support for the woman killed last weekend in that violent clash. Over 1,000 people flooded the Paramount Theater in Charlottesville this morning for a memorial service. A loud ovation for the mother of Heather Heyer after she said those who tried to silence her daughter only magnified her. Susan Bro also making a call to action.
If you're not outraged, you're not paying attention. And I want you to pay attention, find what's wrong, don't ignore it, don't look the other way. You make a point to look at it and say to yourself, what can I do to make a difference? And that's how you're going to make my child's death worthwhile. I'd rather have my child, but by golly, if I got to give her up, we're going to make it count.
The president did tweet about the service. There it is there. Memorial service today for beautiful and incredible Heather Heyer, a truly special young woman. She will be long remembered by all. Here in Greensboro, a promise to reject what some call a symbol of white supremacy has been fulfilled. The Greensboro City Council voted unanimously to rename the Aycock Historic Neighborhood. It will now be known as the Dunleith Historic Neighborhood. Residents there voted earlier this year to change the name. The move comes amid a swell of backlash over former Governor Charles B. Aycock, who supported white supremacy. The neighborhood's middle school is also changing its name to Swan Middle School in honor of a former school administrator. There will be a renaming ceremony for the school this weekend. There's good and bad news for job seekers in the Triad. According to the North Carolina Commerce Department, the Triad's unemployment rate dipped slightly to 4.3% in June, reaching another 10-year low. However, experts say while jobs are available nowadays, they require a very specific skill set. For example, manufacturing jobs are coming back to the state, but to be qualified, you must be familiar with electronics and technology.
The people with skills tend to be working. So employers are having to make decisions on what is the minimum level of skills that they're willing to hire somebody with and how much they're willing to invest in training.
To address the need for more trained and qualified workers, Plummer says the state approved a new career pathway program in aviation that will look at aviation, technology, and transportation. The Burlington Alamance Regional Airport is planning a $112 million expansion over the next 10 years. The Airport Authority is working on acquiring the last 2 parcels of land they need for the project. Once the land is bought, it'll be rezoned for airport use and environmental inspections will begin. The last piece of the project will be a runway extension.
So being able to say yes with more space to park those aircraft, with more space to hangar those aircraft, that's the goal, so that we can bring more business into our community.
The Airport Authority plans to break ground on construction within the next 5 years. And as North Carolina continues its push to be a leader in solar energy, a council is working to take that effort one step further. The state's Energy Policy Council met for the first time today under Governor Roy Cooper's administration. This comes nearly a month after the governor signed a major energy bill that, among other things, establishes competitive bids for new solar construction. But those on the council say there's still work to be done to improve our state's power grid reliability.
Someone living at home has probably experienced a power outage after a hurricane or an ice storm or something like that. So it being able to improve our grid so that it's more reliable, so that we can bring it up quicker, that will reduce those number of hours that we have outage and that you're without power at home.
The council will also advise the governor and state lawmakers on increasing domestic energy exploration, development, and production to boost jobs and North Carolina's economy. We are about 4 days away from what scientists call a once-in-a-lifetime event, a rare sight to behold, which is why the Department of Transportation is worried drivers will stop in their tracks to take in the eclipse. Our Ruwan Balogan has more on what the department's doing to keep drivers safe.
It's been nearly 100 years since a solar eclipse covered all of North America. Pat Ivey with the state's Department of Transportation says
traffic is typically heavy anyway.
It's going to be a busy day for our highways.
We've been preparing over the last couple of days. We've started putting messages up on our changeable message boards.
Even though they have signs up reminding people of the eclipse, Ivey's hoping those that want to watch will stay off the roads.
But we just ask people not to stop in the roadways itself or really even pulling over onto the side of the road to watch that. It's just not very safe.
Instead of pulling off to the shoulders, Ivy says get off the highway entirely.
Be careful, drive carefully.
I spoke with several city officials within the Triad, and they say there's not really much they can prepare for Monday's solar eclipse, but what they are looking out for is above. They're watching those street lights. They say whenever it gets dark, those lights should turn on.
It's similar to like a night light that you would have in your bathroom or hallway, and in what instances, you know, that the lights are turned off, it comes on.
Most of the light poles across the Triad have control sensors through Duke Energy. When the sun's gone, they're on.
And once the sun comes back out, it will then turn off.
Duke Energy says they believe the street lights will be effective for less than an hour. In Winston-Salem, Roman Belogan, Spectrum News.
NCDOT says when the eclipse starts, their crews will stop working until it passes. All right, time for a quick break, but when we come back, more arrests and the takedown of the Confederate statue in Durham, what those charged with felonies are telling us today.
If you have questions, Spectrum makes it easy to find the answers. That's why we offer more ways to get help. So if you need answers, we've got you covered. You can find support, useful tips, and answers to commonly asked questions by visiting spectrum.net/tip. So the next time you have a question, remember, finding the solution can be as simple as watching a video or visiting our website. Any questions?
Chevrolet Sports Night on Spectrum News, raring to go every night.
Next category.
Highlights and updates.
A big day for the Carolina Hurricanes.
With room for you.
All right, Twitter poll.
It's North Carolina Duke.
And room for fun.
Just what in the world are you doing? Week 8 picks.